Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm very much lucky to be joined by Coach Jay Martin from Ohio Wesleyan. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you again. I look back, it's to almost 2 years ago to the day. We spoke about, your time at Ohio Wesleyan and what you do at that program. And as many folks know, this is your last season. The all-time winningest coach, hanging them up. So sad to see, but hopefully it's only good things for you.
Hopefully, it was a difficult decision, Matt. My brain says keep going, my heart says keep going, but my body is just falling apart, and it's hard for me right now to stand on the field for 2 hours and practice. So it's time, and as you well know, this is a young man's game, and I'm no longer a young man. And so I look forward to Matt taking over for me, and he'll do a great job. And and I will find some other things to do.
Well, we'll have to get Matt on the pod maybe next summer when he's got the full reins there. But you still, you're in the heart of the conference tournament coming up, right? And looking to get that NCAA bid. So what do you think the prospects are, Coach? We gonna have a storybook ending here in your last season?
Um, I don't know if it's storybook, but I think it'll be positive. I think I'm a part of me. I'm mildly surprised. We have like the fifth strongest strength of schedule in Division 3 this year, and we did that on purpose. We always play a tough schedule. But as you know, the NCAA changed the rules in the middle of the summer and caught us unaware. And strength of schedule, in terms of its weight, has gone down a little bit. It's now only 20% of the pie, and so I was a little worried when that happened. I was a little worried, and because so much emphasis on wins and losses, I think personally is a mistake. But there wasn't anything we could do about it. Although a lot of schools, maybe you're aware of this, a lot of colleges, D3 colleges, changed their schedule and dropped some tough teams and added some not so tough teams. And so that caught us by surprise. But our first 8 games, and I may be off a little bit on this, but not much. I think 6 or 7 were ranked in the top 15 in the country, and so it was touch and go there for a little bit. But we ended up real strong in the conference, and had an under. I think my assistant Matt, I think he told us this is our 19th undefeated conference season and our 25th conference championship, regular season championship. So we have DePaul on Thursday night, and should we be fortunate enough, we'll play the winner of Denison and Kenyon on Sunday. Both games will be at Ohio Wesleyan, so that obviously helps. I think we do really well at home, so hopefully that'll carry us through. So we'll see. I think we're in a good place to get an at large bid, but with the new system and everything, Matt, I'm not counting on it. So we're gonna just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, it is a little odd with the new system, and I think it's just going to be a crapshoot. But
Right.
hopefully the soccer gods are on your side, Coach. We got to see Ohio Wesleyan in the NCAA's for your last season for sure. Well, when I saw the news, read the article there in the Columbus Dispatch. It says you're staying at Ohio Wesleyan, maybe doing some teaching, but what else are you going to be doing at the school? Are you going to be doing anything in the soccer universe, or what's that looking like?
Yeah, I've been on the faculty since I came here, and that's one of the things you mentioned. We might talk about Division 3 and what's going on in D3 a little bit later. But when I came here in August of 1977, all 25 coaches in the Division 3 top 25 were also professors and teaching. This past year, I was the only one. And it's really changed the landscape in Division 3, as you can imagine. And I suppose we can talk about that a little later. But I'm a full professor. I'm a member of the faculty. I enjoy teaching a lot. In fact, I've had a number of chances to leave Ohio Wesleyan over the years, and most of the people that were looking at me, D1 soccer, AD. I was also AD here for 20 years. They didn't want me to teach anymore, and teaching is a big part of who I am and what I like to do. So I'm going to continue teaching in the physical education department. Um, I currently teach courses in sports psychology and coaching and leadership. They think I know something about coaching, so they stuck me in there. And so I think I will do that. I'll have to add a few new courses, and I'm trying to figure out what they'll be, and we'll see. As far as soccer goes, I'm still editor of Soccer Journal with the United Soccer Coaches. I will continue with that, and I think this will give me time to do some other things. I talk to a lot of coaching groups during the course of the year, and a lot of high school athletic departments, and so on and so forth about leadership, about coaching, about all those things. You may know that I had a book published last November, and I use that as kind of the groundwork for my presentations. And I'm looking forward to doing more stuff like that, doing a little more writing, and I'll stay active and busy. Believe me, and teaching's important because my wife doesn't want me hanging around here in my home all day long. So I got to be in the classroom.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like a good plan. Well, you mentioned it, but as you know, I was a Division III soccer player, loved every minute of it, made that choice, specifically because I wanted that balance of soccer and academics and that kind of thing. You like you said, you've had chances to leave D3, you stayed D3. Sure, there's some changes going on in D3, but what do you feel are like the big benefits of Division III and why students should really take a look at it, and instead of that kind of D1 or bust mentality?
Yeah. Division III is the last remaining bastion of collegiate athletics. I mean, everything else has become professional. And I think, with the transfer portal and these types of things, it's just become, I mean, look, Division I was always a business, but it's really over the top now in terms of business. So if you're a young man, in my case, or woman, who's interested in combining a good academic career and a good soccer program, Division III is the place to look. I've lost so many in my 47 years coaching, so many young men to Division I schools, to be honest with you. And a year later, they came back to Ohio Wesleyan. And Division I is not what it's cracked up to be. The problem, Matt, as you know, is every young boy and girl, or man and woman, 18 and graduating from high school, think Division I's the answer. They want to go to Division I and go to the MLS and all these other things, and it just doesn't happen. Statistically, you have a better chance of getting hit with a meteor than you do going to the MLS. But it's very difficult to talk to an 18-year-old kid about that, and especially the 18-year-old kid's parents, who are convinced, after pouring all this money into our club system, are convinced that that's the answer for their son, and even now more for women. As the women are catching up to the men. So it's the transition. I think I don't like the way college athletics is going at all. No, nobody asked my opinion, so that's how it is. But D3, I believe, is the place to go. And yes, there are restrictions. For years, I used to say that Division III was the whipping boy of the NCAA. When a Division I program did something stupid, Division III would get more and more sanctions and cut back on spring games and all these other things. But with that said, there is still a lot of quality soccer being played in Division III. Believe me, a lot of quality soccer, probably more so than any time in my career.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned a little bit, but we've seen these Division I changes. The class action lawsuits, the settlement currently being talked about. It's done, but it's not done. There's just a lot of ramifications that are going to ripple through Division I, Division II, and even Division III. So, what are your thoughts on this whole settlement structure and what's going to happen with all the sports, really?
Yeah, the transfer portal has changed a lot. I had a young man talk to me yesterday, as a matter of fact. He's a very good goalkeeper. He's a freshman from Houston, Texas, and he is number 2 on our roster. What we try to do with goalkeepers, Matt, is we bring in, first of all, we always have 4 goalkeepers, but we bring in really good ones every 2 years. And the idea is that there'll be the understudy for freshman and sophomore, and then it's their position. Well, he can't wait. He wants to get on the field, and he said, I'm sick of sitting on the bench and so on and so forth. So I'm probably going to transfer. And it's really too bad because we're sending the wrong signal. What's happening now is many times the players don't bother working for their position. If they don't get the position, they're just going to leave and find a place where they can play. Oftentimes, the schools that he's looking at have programs that aren't as good as ours. They're not academically as strong as ours, so it's kind of frustrating. But thank goodness that doesn't happen very often to us.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, I think what next week the portal opens officially, and it's just going to be interesting to see how many of these schools that had rosters of 30, 40 kids now I got to get to 28, and how that's going to push down to D2, to
Right.
D3, and will with the budgets, are schools gonna maybe even reclass divisions or see if they can reclass sports individually. I know the NCAA doesn't like that now, but will they change that? I mean, there's still a lot of question marks, I think, out there.
A lot of things up in the air, and to be honest with you, that was part of my decision making process. I just think we're going in the wrong direction. But ironically, there's a something going on in Division 3 that I think in my case, young men who are looking for Division 3 have to be aware of. Many Division 3 programs are, in my mind, over recruiting. We've played we've played teams this year where their roster, Matt, was 62, 63, 59. I'm like, what the hell can you do in practice with 59 guys? It doesn't make sense. And I'm not sure you're aware of this. There are some, I mean, look, as you know, some Division 3 type schools are struggling. Birmingham dropped their school last year. Wittenberg universities and our conference is in trouble, and so on. Division 3 coaches now are getting a stipend for in our case, every young man that they recruit. Sometimes the stipend's up to $1,500. So what's going to prevent that coach from over recruiting? I mean, he's going to get a lot of good players. He's going to get some extra cash, and he'll help the school survive. So that is a problem that I just think it's terrible, to be honest with you. I mean, we played one of these schools. I don't want to mention them on this, Matt, but we played one of these schools, and we recruited a young man who's a sophomore at this particular school now. And I talked to him after our game, how are things going, and so on and so forth. He hasn't played a minute yet, as a freshman, or this was halfway through this. Hasn't played a minute. He dresses, but he hasn't gotten in. And I really think that's a disservice. I think young men who are looking at D3 have to look at the roster size of the schools that they're looking at. I think that's becoming a more and more important factor.
Well, and I can tell you just from my experience in talking to coaches, each week, uh, it's the same in NAIA and D2 as well. You're just seeing more and
Yes.
more schools leaning on sports as their enrollment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's probably even more so in NAIA because most of those schools are maybe only 1,000
Yeah.
students and they have 700 athletes.
Right.
And it just, it's a way to keep the lights on. And I think what we saw earlier in 2024, I think it's either, it was like almost one a week, a school either closing or announcing that they were closing.
Yes.
So yeah, I think the landscape is definitely changing, not only with the NCAA rules, but just the financial solvency of higher education, right?
Yes. And I told you a moment ago about the me being the only faculty member in the top 25 last year, and that has changed a lot of things, Matt. It's changed the behavior big time of Division 3 coaches. When I started out in this gig, I mean, look, we always wanted to beat everybody. That's how it is. But the coaches, after the game, we could talk. The coaches, Paige Cotton, Tapar, and I were very, very good friends, and others. It doesn't happen anymore, Matt. The behavior on the sidelines is ridiculous. The behavior of the players is ridiculous. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care how you couch it, even in Division 3, what are they getting evaluated on? They're getting evaluated on winning. I don't care what you say, because they're not teaching anymore. And now they're getting evaluated on recruiting. So that changes everything. I mean, it's different from when you played. I guarantee it. I mean, it's just nuts the way
Uh,
coaches
I, I,
are going.
I mean, when I went to college, I had three coaches in 4 years because
Oh,
it was a part-time job then. We
right.
didn't even have like the coach came in for the fall, and that was it. Spring season didn't exist. And so yeah, things have changed. And then that was, I mean, what, let's see, 5 years later, I became a Division II head coach, but I was also
Mhm.
faculty.
Right.
So I'm with you. I was teaching and I had these kids in class, so the relationships were much different, and you could set
Yeah.
expectations
Yeah.
differently.
I,
Yeah,
I, I don't know what I'd do, Matt, if I just coach soccer. I mean, to me, what the hell do you do all day? I mean, I enjoy meeting students who aren't soccer players. I enjoy meeting students across the spectrum in the university, male, female, whatever. I enjoy the interaction, and that is very motivating to me. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to stay in teaching. But what do you do? What do soccer coaches do all day? I can't believe it, especially like in January. The answer is, of course, they recruit. I understand that, but I did pretty well recruiting along with my teaching for many, many years. So, I mean, it is a doable situation.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, eh, I want to leave you with just one last question here, and and with all these changes that we just talked about, with everything happening with the transfer portal, with D3, D1, all the whole kit and caboodle, as someone who's been around this college game for so long, what advice would you give to, my daughter's 16, junior in high school. She's going through this process right now. For her, for boys doing the same thing, what's some good advice that you think all these kids should know right now?
I think maybe a couple of things. I think number one is you choose an institution for its academics, and do the academics at that institution match your interests? I think that's number one, Matt. And if they have a good soccer team, great. But I think what you'll find is you can find a place who can take care of you academically and serve your interests, um, and have a decent soccer team. There are enough of us out there that you can do that. And I think secondly, and I'm not 100% sure about women's programs, you probably know more than I, but in regards to the men's programs, check the roster size. It's right on the internet right now. You can go on their website and you can see how many people they have, how many goalkeepers, how many this, how many that, because that's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think I think it's an abuse of the student athlete, to be honest with you. We have at Wesleyan, we have 32 lockers in our locker room, and that's the size of our group. That's how it is. Now, occasionally, maybe we'll have a couple of goalkeepers, share a locker, but not usually. And we recruit young men who we know are going to play here, and we know they're going to influence our team as freshmen. I didn't say start because that's still difficult for freshmen in a good program, but they're going to play. And so I think you've got to look at the academics first, the size of the roster, and then I think the third factor, which I think I'm probably biased about this, but is the coach. We've got to get in and talk to the coach and see what the coach's philosophy is. See how many, talk to the players. Our best salesmen for our program are the players. So every time a young man shows up on campus, he goes out to lunch with some of our players, and I tell the recruit, ask him questions. How many games did you play as a freshman? How's the coach? What kind of practices do you have? And so on and so forth. Does the coach care about academics? I tell my guys, if there's a conflict between academics and soccer, there's no conflict. It's academics. I don't want to see you at practice. Go take care of business. And I think all those things are really, really important and getting more important, I think.
Yeah. Well, coach,
That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, and it's why you're one of the best in the biz. And coach, I
Thank
really do appreciate you taking time again in your last season preparing for this conference tournament. Good luck tomorrow.
you.
Hope you take care of business, and we'll see you in that NCAA draw. Maybe if things go well, matching up against my alma mater. Hopefully they win their conference tournament, get in the NCAA's again, and that
Remind me who that is, Matt.
Catholic University.
Oh yes, we've played them in the past
Yeah, yeah.
in the
So,
tournament. Yeah.
yep, they finished second in their conference. So we'll see how the conference tournament goes. They're looking good, but of course, uh, we'll hope that Ohio Wesleyan does the same. So really appreciate it. Best of luck, coach. If you get down to anything soccer related here in Bradenton, be sure to look me up so we can go grab a beverage or something. All right, coach?
Trust me, I will.
Uh,
I can guarantee that. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, take care, coach.
Bye bye.